The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like dying wasps, casting everything in the maternity ward a sickly yellow-green. I pressed my palm against the cool glass of the nursery window, watching the tiny bundle wrapped in pink cotton, my daughter, still nameless after 3 days because I couldn't bring myself to choose alone. The antiseptic smell burned my nostrils, mixing with the faint scent of milk and exhaustion that clung to my hospital gown. My body ached in places I didn't know could ache, a dull throb that reminded me I'd created life and nearly destroyed myself in the process. "Miss Carter?" The nurse's voice cut through my fog. "Your visitor is still in the waiting room. He's been there since this morning." Not visitor. She meant Derek, my ex. The father who'd looked at our daughter through this same glass yesterday and said, "I need a paternity test before I sign anything." 3 years together. 9 months of carrying his child while he moved on to someone with a trust fund and a degree from Yale. And now he wanted proof. I pressed my forehead against the glass, feeling it fog with my breath. Through my reflection, I could see her, impossibly small, impossibly perfect. Dark wisps of hair, fingers curled into fists like she was ready to fight the world. She deserved better than this, better than a mother who'd dropped out of college to wait tables, better than a father who treated her birth certificate like a business contract. "Tell him I'm sleeping," I whispered. The nurse squeezed my shoulder with practiced sympathy, the kind they probably taught in nursing school alongside wound care and bedside manner. As she walked away, her rubber-soled shoes squeaking against the linoleum, I caught sight of movement in the hallway reflection. A man. Tall, dark suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. He moved differently than the doctors and visitors. Purposeful, predatory. Even from behind, I could see the deference in how people stepped aside for him. The nurse who'd just left me actually pressed herself against the wall, eyes downcast. My breath caught. He stopped 3 doors down from the nursery, speaking in low tones to someone I couldn't see. Italian leather shoes gleaming under the terrible lights. Dark hair cut precisely, not a strand out of place. When he turned slightly, I glimpsed a sharp jawline, the kind of profile that belonged on Roman coins or in magazines I couldn't afford. Then his security guard appeared, because of course he had security. A mountain of a man in a black suit with an earpiece, carrying what looked like a hospital bassinet covered with an expensive blanket. Something about the scene made my stomach twist. The way the nurses watched him with fear disguised as respect. The way he commanded space without saying a word. The subtle bulge under his guard's jacket that definitely wasn't a phone. I should have looked away. Should have gone back to my room and dealt with Derek and his demands for DNA tests, and his new girlfriend who'd already posted pregnancy announcements on social media, even though she was barely showing. But I couldn't stop watching. He moved to the nursery window, standing almost where I'd been moments before. His reflection in the glass was all sharp angles and shadows, beautiful in a way that made you think of fallen angels and Greek tragedies. When he looked at the babies, something flickered across his face. Loss, longing, something raw that made him human for just a second. Then his eyes shifted, found mine in the reflection. I should have looked away, but I was exhausted, emotionally drained. And those eyes, dark, intense, burning with something I couldn't name, held me frozen like a rabbit in headlights. The corner of his mouth lifted, barely. Not quite a smile. An acknowledgement. Then Derek's voice shattered the moment. "Emma, we need to talk about this. My lawyer says—" I spun around, my hospital gown swishing against my legs. Derek stood there with his new girlfriend hovering behind him like a designer accessory. All highlighted hair and yoga pants that probably cost more than my car payment. She had her hand on her stomach in that proprietary way pregnant women do, even though she couldn't be more than 12 weeks along. "Your lawyer?" My voice cracked. "She's 3 days old, Derek. 3 days and you've already got lawyers involved? Be reasonable." He had the audacity to look annoyed, like I was the inconvenience. "You know how these things work. I just need to verify." "Verify?" The word tasted like poison. "I was faithful to you for 3 years. You're the one who—" "Don't make a scene." He glanced around, embarrassed, always worried about appearances, about what people thought. "Brittany and I just want to make sure everything's handled properly before—" "Before what? Before you play happy family with her while denying your own daughter?" The man in the suit was closer now. I hadn't seen him move, but he was there, maybe 10 feet away, watching our interaction with eyes that missed nothing. His guard stood slightly behind him, hand resting near that suspicious bulge under his jacket. "Look." Derek lowered his voice, trying for reasonable. "I'll sign the certificate after the test. It's just a formality." "A formality?" My laugh was brittle, sharp enough to cut. "She needs a name, Derek. She needs her birth certificate for insurance, for pediatrician appointments, for—" "Then pick a name and register her with just your name," Brittany interjected, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Problem solved. Something inside me cracked. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was the hormones. Maybe it was 3 days of staring at my daughter through glass and knowing I couldn't give her everything she deserved. "Get out," I whispered. "Emma, be rational. Get out." Louder now. Loud enough that nurses looked over. Loud enough that the man in the expensive suit tilted his head, interest sharpening in those dangerous eyes. Derek held up his hands like I was being hysterical. "Fine. Call me when you're ready to be reasonable. Come on, Britt." They left, her heels clicking against the floor like tiny hammers. I stood there, shaking, feeling tears burn behind my eyes, but refusing to let them fall. Not here. Not where everyone could see how completely I was falling apart. "Bastardo!" a voice said beside me, deep, accented, wrapping around the Italian curse like velvet over steel. I jerked, not having heard him approach. Up close, he was devastating. Not handsome in the conventional sense, but compelling in a way that made it hard to look away. Late 20s, maybe 30. Dark eyes that had seen too much. Full lips that looked like they'd forgotten how to smile. A small scar through his left eyebrow that somehow made him more attractive. "Excuse me?" My voice came out smaller than I intended. "Your ex." He nodded toward the hallway where Derek had disappeared. "He's a bastard. The coward kind who hides behind lawyers and new women instead of facing what he's done." His English was perfect, just touched with an accent that made every word sound deliberate, important. He smelled like expensive cologne and something darker, gunpowder maybe, or the leather interior of luxury cars. I'm sorry. Do I know you?" "No." He studied me with unsettling intensity, like he was reading a book written in my bones. "But I know men like him. Weak. Selfish. The kind who create life and walk away when it becomes inconvenient." Something about the way he said it made me think he wasn't just talking about Derek. I should get back to my room. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly aware of how thin my hospital gown was, how vulnerable I looked with my unwashed hair and milk-stained clothes. "Your daughter." He glanced toward the nursery. "She's beautiful. She has your eyes." That stopped me. "You can't possibly tell that from—" "I can. Absolute certainty. And she deserves better than a father who demands proof, and a mother who's breaking herself trying to hold everything together alone." The tears I'd been holding back threatened to spill. "You don't know anything about me. I know you've been wearing the same hospital bracelet for 3 days. I know you've barely left this hallway except to feed her. I know you're terrified of what comes next, because you can't see a way forward." He moved closer, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him despite the frigid air conditioning. "And I know that when your ex walked away just now, you didn't cry until you thought no one was watching. You're stronger than you think, Emma Carter." Hearing my name in his mouth sent a shiver down my spine. "How do you—" "The nurse said it. I pay attention." His lips curved slightly. "It's how I stay alive. That should have been a warning. Should have sent me running back to my room to lock the door and call security. But I was so tired of being afraid, of being alone, of pretending I had any idea what I was doing. "I'm Dante," he said. "Dante Salvatore." He didn't offer his hand. Men like him didn't shake hands with women like me. They owned, they took, they commanded. Even in introduction, there was possession in the way he said his name, like he was branding it into my memory. I started backing toward my room. "Wait." Not a request. An order wrapped in silk. Your daughter needs a birth certificate. Your ex won't sign. What if I could solve that problem? I stopped. What do you mean? I mean, he glanced at his guard, some silent communication passing between them. I have resources, connections. I could ensure your daughter gets everything she needs without requiring anything from him. I don't understand. Why would you? Because I can. Simple. Absolute. Terrifying. Because men like him shouldn't have power over women like you, and because... He paused, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. Because I want to. Every instinct screamed at me to run. This man was dangerous. Everything about him, from the expensive suit to the armed guard to the way he spoke about solving problems, screamed danger. But I looked at the nursery, at my daughter sleeping peacefully, unaware that her father had just walked away, and her mother had no idea how to protect her from the world. What would you want in return? I asked, hating how my voice shook. Dante smiled then, slow and predatory. We'll discuss terms, but first, he pulled out a phone, one of several I could see in his jacket, and made a call. Rapid Italian, too fast for me to follow. When he hung up, that terrifying certainty was back. My lawyer will be here within the hour. He'll handle the birth certificate, ensure everything is legal and binding without your ex's signature. That's not possible. The law requires... The law, he interrupted softly, is flexible when you know the right people. Trust me, Emma. By tomorrow, your daughter will have her name, her certificate, and her future secured. I can't pay you for... I'm not asking for money. He stepped closer, and I could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. Could smell that intoxicating mix of danger and expensive taste. I'm asking for time. Dinner when you're recovered. A conversation. That's all. That wasn't all. I knew it in my bones, in the way my body responded to his proximity with equal parts terror and something I didn't want to name. Just dinner? I whispered. Just dinner, he agreed. But the way he looked at me said he was already imagining so much more. Before I could respond, before I could think through the implications of accepting help from a man who clearly operated outside the law, his lawyer appeared. An older man in an expensive suit carrying a briefcase that probably cost more than my car. This is Emma Carter, Dante said without looking away from me. Her daughter needs documentation. Handle it. Of course, Mr. Salvatore. The lawyer turned to me with practiced efficiency. Miss Carter, if you'll just sign here and here, I'll have everything processed by morning. What name would you like for your daughter? I stood frozen, caught between terror and hope, between the safe poverty I knew and the dangerous luxury being offered. Sophia, I heard myself say. Sophia Grace Carter, beautiful, Dante murmured, and the way he said it made me think he wasn't just talking about the name. The next morning, I woke to find legal documents on the rolling table beside my hospital bed. Crisp, official, stamped with seals I didn't recognize, but that looked impossibly legitimate. Sophia Grace Carter's birth certificate, complete with my signature and a father's line that simply read, "Declined to establish paternity." No DNA test required, no Derek's permission needed. Just like that, my daughter had a name and an identity. I should have felt relief. Instead, my hands trembled as I held the paper, reading it over and over while weak sunlight filtered through the blinds. The document was real. I'd called the county clerk's office twice to confirm, but the price tag remained invisible, hovering over me like a storm cloud. Ready for discharge, sweetie? The morning nurse bustled in with that forced cheerfulness they all wore. Doctor signed off. You and baby girl are free to go home. Home. My one-bedroom apartment with its leaking faucet and neighbors who fought at 3 a.m. The car seat I'd bought secondhand sat in my closet, and I'd watched 3 YouTube videos on how to install it properly. I had exactly $400 in my bank account and no job to return to. The diner had replaced me the second I went into labor. Yeah, I managed. We're ready. Except I wasn't. I wasn't ready for any of this. 2 hours later, I stood in the hospital lobby with Sophia bundled in my arms, wearing a cheap going-home outfit I'd bought from Target. The automatic doors whooshed open and closed, bringing bursts of September heat that made the air conditioning work overtime. Other families left with balloons and flowers, fathers carrying car seats, grandmothers crying happy tears. I had a diaper bag and a growing sense of panic. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A car is waiting for you outside. Driver will take you home. D. I looked up sharply, scanning the lobby. There, through the glass doors, a black Mercedes sedan with tinted windows. A driver in a crisp suit stood beside it, waiting with the patience of someone who got paid well to be patient. No, absolutely not. I wasn't some charity case for a dangerous man to... Sophia whimpered against my chest, her tiny face scrunching up in that way that meant she'd be screaming soon if I didn't feed her. My breasts ached with milk, my incision pulled with every step, and the Uber I'd called 10 minutes ago still showed, searching for driver. The Mercedes driver caught my eye through the glass and nodded once. Professional, discreet. I should have walked away. Called a different rideshare company. Maintained some shred of independence. Instead, I pushed through the doors, letting the heat slap me in the face as I approached the car. Miss Carter. The driver opened the rear door, revealing leather seats that probably cost more than my entire apartment's furniture. Mr. Salvatore sends his regards. He's arranged for your car seat to be professionally installed. Sure enough, a top-of-the-line infant seat was perfectly secured in the back, not the second-hand one from my closet, but something with every safety feature known to man. I can't accept, I started. He anticipated you'd say that. The driver's expression remained neutral. He said to tell you it's not a gift, it's an investment in ensuring his goddaughter arrives home safely. Goddaughter? The word came out strangled. We're not, nevertheless. The driver gestured to the open door. It's quite hot, Miss Carter. The baby should be out of this sun. He was right. Sophia was already fussing, her face turning red. I looked at the Uber app, still searching. Looked at the Mercedes with its climate-controlled interior and professionally installed car seat. Looked at my daughter, who deserved better than her mother's stubborn pride. I got in the car. The door closed with the solid thunk of German engineering. Inside, it was cool and quiet, smelling of leather and something subtle. The same cologne Dante had worn yesterday. A bottle of water sat in the cup holder beside a small gift bag. What's this? I asked as the driver pulled smoothly away from the hospital. Mr. Salvatore thought you might need refreshments. He caught my eye in the rearview mirror. The bag contains some essentials for the baby. Diapers, wipes, formula in case you need it. Nothing extravagant. I peeked inside. Nothing extravagant apparently meant organic diapers, premium wipes, and European formula that cost $50 a can. There was also an envelope. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside, a card with elegant script. For Sophia's first month. No strings, no expectations. Just breathing room. D behind the card, a check for $5,000. I stopped breathing. $5,000. That was rent for months. Groceries, baby supplies, doctor visits, the breathing room between desperation and survival. I can't accept this, I whispered to the empty car. The driver said nothing, navigating traffic with expert precision. We were heading toward my neighborhood, the part of town where people like Dante Salvatore definitely didn't visit. Where chain-link fences protected nothing worth stealing, and sirens were the neighborhood lullaby. My phone buzzed again. You can accept it. You will accept it. Sophia deserves more than watching her mother drown. Consider it a loan if pride demands it. Pay me back when you're on your feet, or don't. Either way, cash it. D. How did you get my number? The response came immediately. I know everything about you, Emma. Your address, your employment history, your ex's new girlfriend's trust fund. The fact that you've eaten nothing but hospital cafeteria food for 3 days because you've been too afraid to leave the maternity ward. I know you're scared. I know you're alone. And I know you're too stubborn to ask for help even when you're drowning. My breath caught. That should have terrified me, should have sent me scrambling for the door locks, screaming for the driver to stop. Instead, something warm and dangerous unfurled in my chest. Someone saw me. Really saw me. Not the brave face I showed the nurses or the composed mask I wore around Derek. Someone looked past all that and saw the terrified girl underneath. This is insane. You don't even know me. I know enough. And I want to know more. Have dinner with me. Tomorrow night. I'll send a car at 7. I have a newborn. I can't just bring her. I have a house, not a restaurant reservation. My housekeeper raised 6 children. Sophia will be safe while we talk. Why are you doing this? The response took longer this time. When it came, it felt like truth wrapped in barbed wire. Because 10 years ago, someone should have helped my sister when she needed it. No one did. She died alone and afraid, and I've spent every day since then making sure I'm the kind of man who doesn't let that happen to someone else. The car pulled up to my apartment building. The driver got out, retrieving a stroller from the trunk, another expensive piece I definitely hadn't owned yesterday. "What time tomorrow evening, Miss Carter?" he asked, helping me transfer Sophia to the stroller without waking her. I should have said no. Should have thanked him politely, taken my daughter upstairs, and blocked Dante's number. 7, I heard myself say. I'll be ready at 7. The driver smiled, just slightly. Excellent. Mr. Salvatore will be pleased. He drove away, leaving me standing on the cracked sidewalk with my sleeping daughter and $5,000 I couldn't afford to refuse. The next 30 hours passed in a blur of feeding schedules, diaper changes, and the terrifying realization that I was completely responsible for keeping a tiny human alive. My apartment had never felt smaller. Every cry echoed off the thin walls. Every creak made me jump. Every moment of silence had me checking to make sure Sophia was still breathing. I cashed the check, hated myself for it, but cashed it anyway. Paid rent, bought groceries, stocked up on diapers and wipes and all the things that drained bank accounts faster than anything else. And at 6:30 the next evening, I stood in front of my closet, realizing I owned nothing appropriate for dinner. With a man who probably had politicians and police chiefs on his payroll, I settled on a simple black dress I'd worn to a cousin's funeral 2 years ago. It was too loose now. Pregnancy and stress had stolen 15 pounds I couldn't afford to lose. But it was clean and modest and the best I had. I fed Sophia, changed her into the nicest onesie from the hospital gift bag, and tried to ignore the voice in my head screaming that I was making a terrible mistake. The Mercedes arrived at exactly 7. Different driver this time. Younger, with calculating eyes that swept the street before opening my door. "Miss Carter, I'm Marco. I'll be escorting you this evening." The drive took 40 minutes, heading away from the city into neighborhoods where houses became estates and gates became necessary. We turned onto a private road, passing through security that made airport screening look casual. The driver spoke into his radio in Italian, and massive iron gates swung open. The house beyond was not a house. It was a compound. Modern architecture blending with old-world security, cameras everywhere, guards stationed at intervals, spotlights that could probably be seen from space. "Holy shit," I whispered. Marco's lips twitched. Mr. Salvatore values his privacy. We pulled up to the main entrance, where Dante stood waiting, backlit by warm interior light. He'd traded the suit for dark slacks and a black button-down with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms roped with muscle and a tattoo I couldn't quite make out. Casual wealth, dangerous elegance. He opened my door himself before Marco could move. "Emma." My name sounded different in his mouth. Significant. "Welcome." I tried to get out gracefully while holding Sophia's car seat, failed miserably. His hand caught my elbow, steadying me, and the touch sent electricity straight to my bones. "Easy," he murmured. "Let me." He took the car seat like he'd done it 1,000 times, cradling it with surprising gentleness. "She's grown already. Is that possible? It's been 2 days. 2 days and 17 hours. He glanced at me, something dark and possessive flickering in his eyes. "But who's counting?" He led me inside, through a foyer that belonged in magazines. Marble floors, artwork that was probably worth more than most people's houses, a chandelier that cast prismatic light across everything, but it wasn't cold. There were fresh flowers, warm wood accents, the smell of something delicious cooking. "Maria," he called. A woman in her 60s appeared, her face lighting up when she saw Sophia. Oh, Dio mio, look at this precious angel, Maria. This is Emma and her daughter, Sophia. Emma. Maria essentially raised me after my mother passed. If anyone can handle a newborn, it's her. Maria was already reaching for the car seat with practiced expertise. You go. Have dinner. I will take the best care of this little one. She needs changing, see? And maybe a bottle. I'm breastfeeding, but I pumped some just in case. Perfect, perfect. We have everything we need. You relax, talk to Dante, eat something. You look like you haven't had a proper meal in weeks. Before I could protest, she'd swept away with Sophia, cooing in Italian, leaving me alone with Dante in his fortress of a home. She's right, he said softly. You do look like you haven't eaten. Come. He guided me through the house with a hand at the small of my back, possessive, protective, burning through the thin fabric of my dress. We emerged onto a terrace overlooking grounds that seemed to stretch forever. A table was set for two, candles flickering despite the early evening light. Wine chilling in a bucket, food that smelled like heaven. Sit, he said, not asked. Said. I sat. He poured wine for himself, water for me. You're nursing, I remembered. You remember everything, don't you? Everything that matters. He settled across from me, all predatory grace. Eat, Emma. Then we'll talk about why I really brought you here. My stomach dropped. The birth certificate. The money. It wasn't charity. No. His smile was sharp enough to cut. It was an investment. And now it's time to discuss the returns. The food was incredible. Handmade pasta with a sauce that tasted like someone's grandmother had spent hours perfecting it. Fresh bread that was still warm. Vegetables that actually had flavor. I tried to eat slowly, maintain some dignity, but I was starving. Hospital food and frozen dinners had been my diet for too long. Dante watched me eat with unsettling intensity, barely touching his own plate. Every time I looked up, those dark eyes were on me, cataloging, analyzing, possessing. You're not eating, I finally said, reaching for my water to avoid his gaze. I'm enjoying watching you eat. There's something... He paused, searching for the word. Honest about the way you experience pleasure. No pretense. No performance. Just genuine enjoyment. Heat crept up my neck. The way he said pleasure made it sound obscene. You wanted to talk about returns on your investment, I said, trying to steer us back to safer ground. What does that mean? He leaned back in his chair, swirling the wine in his glass. Behind him, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of blood orange and bruised purple. It made him look like something out of a Renaissance painting. Beautiful and terrible. Your ex, he began. Derek Morrison. He works for Morrison and Associates, his father's investment firm, junior partner. Makes decent money, but nothing extraordinary. Yet he lives in a penthouse downtown, drives a Porsche, and his new girlfriend wears jewelry that costs more than his annual salary. I blinked. How do you know all that? Because I make it my business to know things. And what I know about Derek Morrison is that he's been stealing from his father's clients for the past 18 months. Small amounts from each account, cleverly hidden. Almost $3 million total. My fork clattered against the plate. That's impossible. Derek is... He's not smart enough for that kind of fraud. Exactly. Dante's smile was blade thin. Which is why I know someone else is pulling the strings. Someone who needed a weak, greedy man with access to other people's money. Someone who's been using him and will eventually feed him to the authorities when the heat gets too close. What does this have to do with me, with Sophia? He set down his wine glass with deliberate care. 3 months ago, Derek stole money from the wrong account, an account that belongs to an associate of mine. A very particular associate who doesn't forgive theft, regardless of the amount. My mouth went dry. You're saying Derek stole from the Mafia. I'm saying Derek stole from a businessman with connections to various organizations, including mine. And that businessman wants his money back, plus interest, plus blood. Blood. The word stuck in my throat, metaphorically speaking. Dante's expression didn't change. Mostly. The point is, Derek has made himself a target. And when men like my associate deal with targets, they don't worry much about collateral damage. Girlfriends. Ex-girlfriends. Children. Ice flooded my veins. Sophia. You're saying my daughter is in danger because of what Derek did? I'm saying she could be, unless someone with more influence made it clear that you and Sophia are under protection. That touching either of you would be a declaration of war against the Salvatore family. I pushed back from the table, standing on shaky legs. This is insane. You're using my daughter as leverage to what? Get back at Derek? Prove some kind of point? He stood too, moving around the table with that predatory grace. I'm offering you protection, real, tangible protection that will keep you and Sophia safe from consequences you didn't create, but will suffer anyway if someone doesn't intervene. And what do you get out of this? I backed away, but there was nowhere to go. The terrace railing pressed against my spine. Men like you don't do anything without getting something in return. You're right. He stopped inches away, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. Smell that intoxicating cologne mixed with something darker. I don't. And what I want, Emma, is you. My breath caught. Excuse me? Not like that. Not yet. His hand came up, fingers ghosting along my jawline without quite touching. I want you in my home, you and Sophia, under my protection, my name, my care. I want to know that when I wake up, you're both safe, that when I come home, you're here, that no one can touch you without going through me first. You want me to be your, what? Your mistress? Your kept woman? I want you to be mine. Simple. Absolute. Terrifying. However you want to define that. Companion? Partner. Eventually, when you're ready, something more. But first and foremost, I want you safe. I want Sophia to grow up knowing she's protected, cherished, given every opportunity life can offer. In exchange for what? My voice shook. My freedom? My independence? Becoming some mob boss's property? His jaw tightened. I'm not a mob boss. I'm a businessman with complicated associations. And I'm not asking for your freedom. I'm offering you more freedom than you've ever had. No more worrying about rent. No more choosing between food and diapers. No more exhausting yourself at a job that doesn't pay enough while Sophia stays with whatever cheap daycare you can afford. I'm offering you security, Emma. Real security. At what cost? Loyalty. His hand dropped to my waist, burning through the thin fabric. Honesty. Your presence in my home, in my life. And eventually, when you're ready, everything else you're willing to give. I should have pushed him away, should have demanded he call the driver and take me home immediately, but his words had struck something deep. The bone-tired exhaustion of trying to survive alone, the terror of knowing I couldn't protect Sophia from everything, the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, someone strong enough could. I don't even know you, I whispered. You know enough. You know I keep my promises. You know I have resources to protect you. You know that when I say you'll be safe, I mean it with every connection, every favor, every weapon at my disposal. His other hand came to my face, cupping my cheek with surprising gentleness. And you know that I've been thinking about you every moment since I saw you in that hallway, looking at your daughter like she was worth fighting the world for. Why? The question came out broken. Why me? You could have anyone. Women who are beautiful, sophisticated, who belong in your world. I don't want women from my world. His thumb traced my lower lip, and I stopped breathing. They're like expensive sculptures. Beautiful, perfect, cold. You're real. You feel things deeply. You fight for what matters. And when you look at your daughter, I see the kind of love I thought died with my sister. That's worth more than all the sophisticated women in the world. Tears burned behind my eyes. This is crazy. People don't just move in together with someone they barely know. People in my world do things differently, faster. Because we understand how quickly everything can be taken away. His forehead pressed against mine, and the intimacy of it stole my breath. I'm not asking you to love me, Emma. Not yet. I'm asking you to let me protect you while we figure out what this is between us. Because there is something. You feel it too. I see it in the way you respond when I'm close, the way your breath catches, the way you're not running even though every instinct tells you to. He was right. God help me. He was right. My body betrayed me, leaning into his warmth, craving the security he represented. Or maybe it wasn't betrayal. Maybe it was survival instinct recognizing a predator strong enough to keep the other predators away. If I say yes, I began carefully, what exactly does that mean? What are the rules? You and Sophia live here. You have your own suite. Bedroom, bathroom, sitting room. Complete privacy when you want it. Maria will help with Sophia so you can sleep, recover, have time to yourself. You'll have access to everything. Cars, drivers, anything you need. In return, you have dinner with me when I'm home. You let me get to know you. You give this a chance. And if I want to leave, something dark flickered in his eyes. Then you leave. I won't hold you prisoner, Emma. But you'd be walking away from protection, from security, from the chance to give Sophia everything you never had. That's manipulation. That's reality. His hands fell away, and the loss of contact made me want to pull him back. Derek stole from dangerous men. That debt exists whether you're here or not. The only question is whether you face the consequences alone, or with the full weight of the Salvatore name protecting you. I turned away, gripping the railing, staring out at grounds that seemed to stretch into forever. How do I know you're telling the truth? About Derek, about the danger, you don't. But ask yourself, why would I lie? Why would I go through all this trouble for a woman I just met unless the threat was real and my interest was genuine? Because men like you collect things. Beautiful things. Broken things. Things you can fix and own. You're not broken. His voice came from right behind me, his chest nearly touching my back. You're bent. There's a difference. Broken things shatter when you apply pressure. Bent things flex, adapt, become stronger. You're not something to fix, Emma. You're something to protect, while you find your own strength. A sound from inside made us both turn. Maria appeared in the doorway, Sophia cradled in her arms, fast asleep. She took the bottle beautifully, Maria said softly. Changed, happy, sleeping like an angel. I put her in the bassinet in the blue suite. I thought perhaps Miss Emma might want to see the rooms. Dante looked at me, question in his eyes. This was it. The moment of decision. Go home to my cramped apartment, and whatever danger lurked in Derek's mistakes, or step into this strange, terrifying new world with a man who promised protection, but might demand my soul in return. I looked at Sophia, peaceful and safe in Maria's capable arms. Looked at the house behind them, warm and secure. Looked at Dante, dangerous and compelling and offering me something I'd never had. Someone strong enough to stand between my daughter and the world's cruelty. Show me the rooms, I heard myself say. Dante's expression didn't change, but something blazed to life in his eyes. Triumph, possession, satisfaction. This way. The blue suite was on the second floor, overlooking the gardens. Not a bedroom, a series of rooms. A master bedroom with a bed that could sleep 4, done in soft blues and creams. A sitting area with comfortable furniture and a fireplace. A bathroom that was bigger than my entire apartment, with a soaking tub and a shower that had more jets than I could count. And connected to it all, a nursery that looked like something from a magazine, perfect in every detail, from the hand-painted murals to the rocking chair, positioned to catch the morning light. The nursery was finished this afternoon, Dante said from the doorway. I had decorators working since yesterday. If you don't like something, it can be changed. I couldn't speak. Couldn't process the reality of a man who'd had an entire nursery designed and built in less than 48 hours. Maria laid Sophia in the bassinet. An expensive designer thing that probably cost more than my car. The baby didn't even stir, lost in the deep sleep of a well-fed newborn. I'll leave you to discuss, Maria said, squeezing my shoulder as she passed. If you need anything at all, you press this button. She indicated an intercom panel by the door. I'm right down the hall. Then she was gone, and it was just me, Dante, and my sleeping daughter in this beautiful, terrifying suite. There's clothes in the closet, Dante said quietly. Your size. Casual things, nothing extravagant. And baby supplies. Everything you might need for the next few months. If I got anything wrong, if you need something specific, just tell me. I walked to the closet, opened it. He wasn't lying. Comfortable clothes, nursing-friendly tops, soft pants. Nothing flashy, nothing that screamed bought woman, just thoughtful. Exactly what someone in my situation would need. "When did you do all this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "I make decisions quickly. Once I decide I want something, I don't hesitate." He moved closer, but kept distance between us. "You can sleep here tonight. See how it feels. If you wake up and decide this isn't right, Marco will drive you home in the morning. No judgment, no consequences." "You'd really let me go?" "I'd really let you go, but I'd also do everything in my power to keep you safe from a distance, because that's what you do for people you—" He stopped, jaw tightening. "For people you care about." He'd almost said something else, something that would have made this even more complicated. "I need to think," I said. "Then think. I'll be in my study if you need anything." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Emma, thank you for giving this a chance, for trusting me enough to see the rooms. That takes courage. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing." A ghost of a smile. "Sleep well. Both of you." Then he was gone, and I was alone in a suite that cost more than most houses, with a daughter who deserved everything, and a decision that would change both our lives forever. I walked to the window, looking out at the grounds, the security, the walls that kept the world at bay. Derek was out there somewhere, stealing from dangerous men. Threats lurked in shadows I couldn't see. But here, in this fortress, with a dangerous man's protection wrapped around us like armor, Sophia was safe. And maybe, just maybe, so was I. I didn't sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Dante's face, the intensity in his gaze, the possessiveness in his touch, the promise of protection that felt more like a velvet cage closing around me. Sophia woke twice to feed, and each time I sat in that expensive rocking chair, staring at the nursery he'd built in less than 2 days, wondering what kind of man had that much power and what he'd eventually expect in return. By dawn, I'd made my decision. Or rather, my exhaustion and fear had made it for me. I found Dante in his study at 6 in the morning, looking like he hadn't slept either. He stood by the window with a phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian that sounded like threats wrapped in silk. When he saw me in the doorway, he ended the call immediately. "Emma." He crossed to me in 3 strides. "Is everything all right? Is Sophia—" "She's fine, sleeping." I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly aware I was wearing one of the soft cotton pajama sets from the closet. "I need to go back to my apartment, get our things. If we're doing this, I need to handle some practical matters." Something fierce and satisfied flashed across his face. "We're doing this? For now. Trial basis. If at any point I feel uncomfortable or unsafe or like I've made a mistake, I'm gone. No arguments." "No arguments," he agreed too easily. "I'll have Marco drive you, and security will accompany you." "No." I held up a hand. "I need to do this alone. It's a studio apartment in a bad neighborhood. If I show up with bodyguards and a Mercedes, my landlord will triple my rent or kick me out. I need to pack, pay what I owe, and leave quietly." His jaw tightened. "You're not going alone to a dangerous neighborhood. I've lived there for 2 years. I think I can handle—" "You've lived there for 2 years, without being the target of people looking to collect Derek's debt." His voice went cold. "You're not going anywhere without protection. That's non-negotiable." We stared at each other, wills clashing. I saw the immovable force meeting the unstoppable object, his need to control versus my need for independence. "Fine," I finally said. "But plain clothes. No obvious security. Someone who can blend in." "Done." He pulled out his phone, fired off a text. "Luca will accompany you. He'll look like a friend helping you move. Former military. Speaks perfect English. Knows how to be invisible when necessary." "Thank you." "Don't thank me for keeping you safe. That's not something you should have to be grateful for. It's the bare minimum of what you deserve." He moved closer, and my traitorous body responded to his proximity. "When you get back, we need to discuss Derek properly, what he knows about you, where you might intersect with his life, how to ensure his problems don't become yours. He doesn't know I'm here. Not yet, but he will. Men like Derek don't handle rejection well. He'll come looking eventually, if only to assuage his ego. When he does, I need you to tell me immediately. Promise me, Emma. The intensity in his voice made me shiver. I promise. Good. His hand came up, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture was tender, possessive, completely at odds with the dangerous man I knew he was. Be careful. Come back safe. It's just packing some clothes, not a military operation. Everything is a military operation when you're protecting something precious. His thumb grazed my cheekbone. And you are precious, Emma Carter. You and Sophia both. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be. Luca turned out to be everything Dante promised. Mid-30s, average build, wearing jeans and a hoodie that made him look like any other guy from my neighborhood. Except for the eyes. He had a soldier's eyes, constantly scanning, cataloging threats, planning escape routes. We took an unmarked sedan instead of the Mercedes. Luca drove with casual competence, asking questions about my building, my neighbors, potential complications. By the time we pulled up to my apartment, he probably knew the layout better than I did. I'll help you carry boxes, he said as we climbed the stairs, but I stay visible. Anyone asks, I'm your cousin helping you move. Do you do this often? Babysit women for Dante? His lips quirked. I've worked for Mr. Salvatore for 8 years. This is the first time he's ever asked me to protect someone like this. Usually it's business associates, visiting dignitaries. People in his world. So I'm an anomaly. You're something he cares about. That makes you more important than diplomats and businessmen combined. He paused outside my door. He's different since he met you. Distracted. Almost human. I didn't know what to do with that information, so I unlocked the door and stepped into my apartment. It looked smaller than I remembered. Shabby in the harsh morning light. Water stains on the ceiling. Carpet that had been beige once upon a time. The sad little collection of second-hand furniture I'd accumulated over the years. This had been my life, my independence, my proof that I could survive on my own. Now it just looked like a cage I'd been pretending was freedom. I'll start in the bedroom, I said, voice thick. Packing went faster than expected. I didn't have much worth taking. Clothes, photos, a few books. The furniture could stay. The dishes were mismatched charity shop finds. The only thing that mattered was the small box of keepsakes from my mother, who died when I was 16. I was wrapping her jewelry box in newspaper when someone knocked on the door. Luca appeared from the kitchen, hand moving to his waistband where I now realized he carried a gun. Expecting someone? No. He motioned me to stay back, then opened the door a crack, body blocking the entrance. Can I help you? His voice was pleasant, unremarkable. I'm looking for Emma Carter. Derek's voice made my blood freeze. I'm her. I need to speak with her. Luca glanced back at me. I shook my head frantically. Sorry, man. Nobody here by that name. Previous tenant must have moved out. That's impossible. She was just in the hospital 3 days ago. This is her apartment. Don't know what to tell you. Landlord said the place was empty when I came to look at it yesterday. Maybe check with the office? I heard Derek's frustrated sigh. Fine. Thanks anyway. Luca waited until footsteps faded down the hallway before closing the door. That him? The ex? Yeah. My hands were shaking. How did he know I was here? He didn't. He's checking your apartment hoping to catch you home. Luca pulled out his phone, texted rapidly. We need to leave. Now. If he's desperate enough to show up here, he might be watching the building. But I haven't finished. Doesn't matter. Mr. Salvatore is sending a team to pack the rest and put your things in storage. Right now, I need to get you out of here safely. He ushered me toward the door, carrying the box of my mother's things and my hastily packed suitcase. We made it to the car without incident, but I felt eyes on us the whole way. Paranoia or intuition, I couldn't tell. Luca drove away from my neighborhood with practiced casualness that didn't match the tension in his shoulders. Mr. Salvatore wants you back at the house immediately. He's concerned. Concerned was apparently code for furious. The moment we pulled through the gates, Dante was there, yanking open my door before the car fully stopped. Are you hurt? His hands were on me, checking, cataloging, making sure I was intact. I'm fine. Derek showed up, but Luca handled it. Derek showed up. His voice went deadly quiet. At your apartment. Looking for you. Luca told him I'd moved out. He doesn't know where I am. He knows you're gone. That's enough to make him curious. Desperate, Dante pulled me against his chest, and I felt his heart hammering beneath the expensive shirt. This is exactly what I was afraid of. He's circling, looking for leverage. If he can't control you through the baby, he'll try something else. What could he possibly? Information, money, access. Dante pulled back, hands gripping my shoulders. You worked at that diner for 18 months. You know his schedule, his habits, where he goes when he doesn't want to be found. To the people he stole from, that information is valuable, which makes you valuable, which makes you a target. The reality of my situation crashed over me like ice water. I wasn't just running from Derek's rejection. I was running from consequences that could get me killed. What do? I whispered. You stay here. You stay close, and you let me handle this. He tucked me against his side, guiding me toward the house. Come on. Sophia's probably awake and hungry. Maria's been pacing with her for the past 20 minutes. Sure enough, I could hear Sophia's cries before we even entered. Maria appeared with my red-faced daughter, relief flooding her features when she saw me. There you are. She knows her mama was gone. Smart little girl. I took Sophia, feeling her settle immediately against my chest. Her cries faded to whimpers, then stopped altogether as she rooted for milk. The normalcy of it, the simple biology of feeding my child, helped center me. Dante watched us with an expression I couldn't decipher. Hunger, longing, possession, all mixed together. I'll have your things brought up, he said quietly. And I'm increasing security. No one gets near this property without my knowing about it. That includes Derek, his girlfriend, anyone associated with his family's firm. You can't just build a wall around us forever. Watch me. He moved closer, cupping my face with both hands. I told you. You're mine to protect now. That means I do whatever it takes to keep you safe. If that means walls, guards, and making sure Derek Morrison understands that touching you would be the last mistake he ever makes, then that's exactly what I'll do. That sounds like a threat. That's because it is. His thumb traced my lower lip. I don't make idle threats, Emma. And I don't lose what's mine. I'm not yours. Not yet. His smile was predatory. But you will be. It's just a matter of time before you stop fighting what you already feel. The safety, the security, the way your body responds when I'm near. You can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to me. I see you. Remember? All of you. He was right. And that terrified me more than Derek or stolen money or mob connections. Because every hour I spent in this house, every moment of protection and care and attention, I felt myself slipping further into Dante Salvatore's carefully constructed world, and the worst part was, I wasn't sure I wanted to escape anymore. I need to feed Sophia, I said, deflecting, then feed her. I have business to attend to anyway. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, tender, possessive, claiming, we'll have dinner tonight, just us. I want to know everything about you, Emma Carter. Every dream you've deferred, every hope you've buried, every wish you've been too afraid to voice. Because I'm going to make them all come true, whether you think you deserve it or not. He left me standing there, my daughter at my breast, my heart hammering with equal parts terror and anticipation. That night, after Sophia was fed and sleeping in her perfect nursery, after I'd showered in the bathroom that was bigger than my old apartment, I stood by the window in a silk robe that had appeared in the closet. Below, I could see Dante on the terrace, phone to his ear, conducting business in the moonlight. Even from this distance, I could feel his power, his control, the dangerous magnetism that made people bend to his will, and I realized with crystalline clarity that I was already bending, already falling, already his in ways I didn't want to admit. The question was whether I'd break or emerge stronger on the other side. A knock at the door made me turn. Dante stood there, changed into dark slacks and a black shirt, looking like sin personified. Ready for dinner? He asked. No, I wasn't ready for any of this. Yes, I heard myself say. Because ready or not, I was already falling. And Dante Salvatore was the kind of man who always caught what belonged to him. Dinner was on the terrace again, but this time felt different, more intimate. The table was smaller, closer, forcing proximity. Candles flickered between us, casting shadows that made Dante's face look like something carved from marble. Beautiful, cold, eternal. "Tell me about your mother," he said, pouring wine for himself, sparkling water for me. I blinked at the unexpected question. "Why?" "Because I saw how carefully you packed her things. Because there's grief in your eyes when you think no one's watching. Because I want to know what shaped you into the woman sitting across from me." I took a sip of water, buying time. "She died when I was 16. Cancer, fast and brutal. One day she was complaining about headaches. 6 months later she was gone." "And your father?" "Never knew him. Mom said he was a mistake she didn't regret because she got me out of it." I traced patterns on the tablecloth. "After she died, I went into foster care, aged out at 18, started working, saved money for college, met Derek during my sophomore year, thought I'd finally figured out how to build something stable, and then he destroyed it. I agreed. Convinced me to drop out, move in with him, that he'd take care of everything. I was so tired of struggling alone that I believed him. 3 years later, I'm pregnant, and he's trading me in for a newer model with better financial prospects." Dante's knuckles went white around his wine glass. "If you'd let me, I could make him disappear. Permanently." "That's not funny." "I'm not joking." His eyes met mine, dead serious. "One word from you, Emma. One word, and Derek Morrison becomes a problem that solves itself. No one would ever find him. No one would even look that hard." My breath caught. "You're serious?" "Completely. I've killed for less than what he's done to you. But I'm trying to be civilized, trying to be the kind of man you could eventually care for." He set down the glass with careful control. "So instead of making him disappear, I'll settle for making him irrelevant. For ensuring he never touches you or Sophia again. For building you a life so complete that you forget he ever existed." "That's still terrifying." "Good. You should be a little terrified of me. It'll keep you honest." He leaned forward, candlelight dancing in those dark eyes. "But you should also know that the things I do, the violence I'm capable of, none of it will ever be directed at you. You and Sophia are sacred, untouchable. The only soft things in my entire world." "Why?" The question burst out of me. "Why us? Why me? You could have anyone." "I don't want anyone." His hand shot across the table, catching mine. "I want you. From the moment I saw you at that hospital, exhausted and heartbroken and still standing tall, still fighting, I wanted you. Do you know what I see when I look at you?" I shook my head, unable to speak. "Strength disguised as vulnerability. A woman who's been knocked down repeatedly but keeps getting up. Someone who gives everything to protect what matters and asks for nothing in return. You're real in a world full of people playing roles. And when you look at Sophia," his grip tightened, "you look at her the way my mother used to look at me and my sister, like we were worth dying for. That kind of love is rare, precious. And I've been searching for it since I lost my family." "Your sister," I said softly. "You mentioned she died." Pain flickered across his face, raw and unguarded. "Isabella. She was 17, got involved with a boy from a rival family. When things went bad, when she needed help, she was too afraid to come to me. She thought I'd be angry, that I'd hurt the boy. So she handled it alone, and when that boy turned violent, when he started using her as leverage against our family," he stopped, jaw working. "By the time I found out, it was too late. She'd been missing for 3 days. When we found her body, she'd been..." He couldn't finish. "Dante." I squeezed his hand. "I'm so sorry. I killed them all. Every person involved. Slowly. Painfully. Made sure they understood exactly what they'd taken from me." His eyes met mine, and I saw the monster lurking beneath the civilized surface. Then I swore I'd never let someone I cared about suffer alone again. Never let them be too afraid to ask for help. Never fail to protect them when they needed me. Understanding crashed over me. That's what I am to you. A second chance. No. He stood, moving around the table to pull me to my feet. You're not a replacement. You're something new. Something I didn't know I needed until I saw you standing in that hallway, breaking apart and holding yourself together simultaneously. You made me feel something I thought died with Isabella: hope. The possibility that I could be more than just violence and vengeance. His hands framed my face, thumbs stroking my cheekbones. I know this is fast. I know it's terrifying. I know you have every reason to run. But I'm asking you to stay, to let me prove that I can be what you and Sophia need, to give me the chance to build something real with you. And if it doesn't work? My voice was barely a whisper. If I can't be what you need, then you can't. And I'll still protect you, still ensure Sophia has everything she needs, still make sure Derek's mistakes don't become your burden, because that's what you do for people you... He stopped again, that same hesitation from before. People you what? People you're falling in love with. The words were quiet, devastating, true. I'm falling in love with you, Emma Carter, with your strength and your vulnerability and the way you love your daughter, with your stubbornness and your pride and your refusal to accept help even when you're drowning. I'm falling, and I'm not going to stop. The only question is whether you'll fall with me or run away. I should have run. Should have grabbed Sophia and demanded Marco drive us anywhere else. Should have recognized this for what it was. Obsession. Possession. A dangerous man claiming things that didn't belong to him. Instead, I rose on my toes and kissed him. It was desperate. Reckless. Inevitable. His arms banded around me immediately, crushing me against his chest as he took control of the kiss. Nothing gentle about it. This was claiming, conquering. A predator finally catching prey it had been stalking. His tongue invaded my mouth, his teeth caught my lower lip, his hands gripped my hips hard enough to bruise. And I kissed him back with equal ferocity, channeling 3 days of terror and loneliness and desperate hope into the connection between us. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to mine. Stay. Please, Emma. Stay and let me love you the way you deserve. I'm terrified, I admitted. Good. So am I. His laugh was ragged. You think I planned this? You think I wanted to fall for a woman with a newborn, an ex causing problems, and every reason to reject what I'm offering? But here we are. And I'm not letting you go. Not now. Not ever. That's possessive. I'm a possessive man. You'll get used to it. He kissed me again, softer this time. Say yes. Say you'll stay. Say you'll give us a chance. I looked past him at the house, warm, safe, filled with everything Sophia and I needed. Looked at Dante. Dangerous, obsessed, offering a kind of protection I'd never had. Looked at the future stretching ahead, uncertain, but no longer alone. Yes, I whispered. We'll stay. 6 weeks later, I stood in the nursery, watching Sophia sleep in the early morning light. She'd grown so much already, filled out, alert, developing a personality that was pure determination. My daughter. My miracle. Safe and loved and wanted. Behind me, Dante's arm slid around my waist, pulling me back against his chest. She's perfect. She is. I leaned into his warmth, no longer afraid of the connection between us. The past 6 weeks had been transformative. Dante had been patient, letting me set the pace. We'd had dinner together every night he was home, talking for hours about everything and nothing. He'd gotten up with Sophia when she cried, learning to change diapers with the same intense focus he brought to business deals. He'd held me when exhaustion and hormones made me cry, never once making me feel weak for struggling. And slowly, inevitably, I'd fallen in love with him. Not despite the danger, because of it. Because he channeled all that violence and power into protecting us. Because he looked at Sophia like she was his own. Because he looked at me like I was worth fighting the world for. Derek's lawyer called yesterday. I said quietly. I felt Dante tense. What did he want? To inform me that Derek's been arrested. Federal charges for embezzlement and fraud. Apparently your associate wasn't the only person he stole from. Apparently not. Dante's voice was carefully neutral. Did you have something to do with that? I may have ensured certain evidence reached the right people at the right time. His arms tightened around me. He was a threat to you. I eliminated the threat. No apologies. I should have been upset. Should have lectured him about vigilante justice and letting the system work. Instead, I turned in his arms, looping my hands behind his neck. Thank you. For putting your ex in prison, for protecting us, for caring enough to make the hard choices, for being the kind of man who doesn't walk away when things get complicated. I'll never walk away. He captured my lips in a kiss that still made my knees weak. You're mine, Emma. You and Sophia both. And I protect what's mine. Possessive, I murmured against his mouth. Always. Another kiss. Deeper. Get used to it. I think I already have. Maria appeared in the doorway, smiling at us. Breakfast is ready. And Mr. Salvatore, your lawyer is here with those papers you requested. Papers? I looked at Dante questioningly. He pulled a document from his pocket, suddenly looking almost nervous. Dante Salvatore, nervous. It would have been funny if my heart wasn't suddenly racing. Adoption papers, he said quietly. For Sophia. If you'll let me, I want to give her my name. Want to make it official that she's my daughter in every way that matters. Derek signed away his parental rights as part of his plea deal. Apparently avoiding additional charges was worth abandoning his child. So legally there's nothing stopping this, except your permission. Tears burned my eyes. You want to adopt her? I want to be her father. Want her to grow up knowing she's a Salvatore, with all the protection and privilege that brings. Want her to never question whether she's wanted or loved or valued. His thumb caught a tear sliding down my cheek. But only if you want that too. This is your decision, Emma. Always your decision. I looked at Sophia, sleeping peacefully. Looked at this man who'd crashed into our lives like a beautiful disaster and somehow became our salvation. Thought about the future. Not perfect, never perfect, but safe and loved and together. Yes, I said. Yes, I want that. The smile that broke across his face was radiant, transforming him from dangerous to devastating. Then she's ours. Officially, legally, permanently ours. He kissed me again, and I tasted promise in it. Promise of protection, provision, a love fierce enough to burn away every hurt that came before. Marry me, he said against my lips. What? Marry me. He pulled back, eyes intense. I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring this out, but I'm sure about you, about us, about building a life together. So marry me. Let me make you a Salvatore. Let me give you and Sophia everything you deserve. That's insane. It's perfect. He was already pulling another document from his pocket. A marriage license, half filled out. I had it prepared just in case. All it needs is your signature. Say yes, Emma. Make us a family. Not just in practice, but in name. I should have asked for time. Should have insisted we wait. Make sure this wasn't just obsession masquerading as love. But I looked at him, this dangerous, devoted man who'd given us everything, and knew waiting wouldn't change anything. I was already his. Had been since that first night on the terrace when he'd promised to protect us. Yes, I said, let's make it official. His kiss was triumphant, possessive, claiming me completely. When he pulled back, his eyes blazed with satisfaction. Mine, he breathed. Finally, completely mine, yours. I agreed, as long as you're ours. Always. He scooped me up, making me laugh. Now let's go sign those papers before you change your mind. I'm not risking you coming to your senses. Too late for that. I lost my senses the moment I agreed to dinner with a gorgeous stranger. Best decision you ever made. As he carried me down the stairs, Maria following with a peacefully sleeping Sophia, I realized he was right. Walking into Dante Salvatore's world had been terrifying, reckless, completely insane. It had also been the making of me. Because sometimes salvation comes wrapped in danger. Sometimes protection looks like possession. And sometimes the scariest thing you can do is trust someone strong enough to catch you when you fall. I'd fallen. He'd caught me. And now we were building something beautiful from the ashes of everything that came before. Not a fairy tale. Not perfect. But real, fierce, ours. And that was worth every risk. 3 months later, I stood in the gardens wearing a simple white dress, Sophia sleeping in Maria's arms as Dante and I exchanged vows in front of a handful of witnesses. Nothing elaborate, just promises made under the sunset, binding us together in ways that went far deeper than any legal document. When he kissed me as his wife, I tasted promise and possession and perfect, terrifying love. Mrs. Salvatore, he murmured against my lips. Mr. Salvatore, I returned, smiling. We walked back to the house together, his arm around my waist, Sophia cradled between us, our family. Unconventional, complicated, forged in danger and desperation, but ours. Completely, perfectly, terrifyingly ours, and I wouldn't change a single thing.